Good morning, Clyde Park. Hope you guys are having a wonderful Tuesday afternoon. This is just a continuation of the lesson we've been doing on sound recently. So let's go over what we've already learned. Sound is created by vibrations from an object, and those vibrations travel in waves through the atmosphere. Go to your eardrum, vibrate your eardrum translates that and sends it to your brain, and that's how we hear sound. And so today what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply that to this acoustic guitar here and this electric guitar here. And then I'll explain how those two work sonically, and then I'll have some effects on my amp to end the presentation. Okay, so I'll start off by explaining how the acoustic guitar works. We'll get into the electric and the amp later. So a guitar works by creating vibrations with the string. See that? You might not be able to see that. You can see it vibrating there a little bit. And so what happens to that sound is it goes down into this here, and it comes back out, and that's like the resonance you hear from the guitar. That's the whole sound you're hearing. That's why this hole makes it louder. So that's why when I play the electric here, it's not even close to as loud. So that is basically just how guitars work sonically. Alright. So the way sound works on an electric guitar is a lot more complicated than it would on an acoustic. With the acoustic, you have the big hole in the middle that resonates and has the sound come back out, and that's what makes that guitar loud. But with an electric guitar, you see there's no hole. So when I pluck it like this, there's not going to be much sound coming out. But when you look at these are called humbuckers. And here, let me turn on my amp before I do that. When you pluck a string, it vibrates, creates the sound, and then these humbuckers pick it up, transmit it through this cord into the amp, into the microphone diaphragm in the amp, which projects it back out. And in the amp, you can do some weird things with the sound. You can put some effects on it, which I will show you later. Usually they come in pedals, but mine are actually built into the amplifier. So essentially what the wah pedal does is it creates a low-pass roll-off, which technically just gives it the sound of the wah, which is very aptly named, as you can hear. And so that's basically the wah pedal. So the next pedal I'm talking about is the distortion pedal, which basically just adds a bunch of feedback and fuzz over the sound of the clean guitar, so here's the clean guitar. Then you add a little distortion to it. And this is basically like what a bunch of rock groups would use to try to get their guitars to sound heavier. Alright, so the next tone is called the vibratone, and it's based on an old amp from the 60s that you'd hear bands like the Monkees or the Doors using. And it gives you a choppy sound like this. And that's basically all there is to it. So the next tone I'm going to be talking about is called a phaser, which basically just creates peaks and troughs in the sound waves. So when sound waves, they'll go up and down, and it'll just cause those more frequently than it would before. So this is the clean again. And then here's your phaser. See how it's just peaking? Yeah, and that's essentially how a phaser works. Okay, so that concludes our lesson on sound and how it works with guitars and amplifiers. I hope you guys learned something, and I hope you guys have a good rest of the year.